My goal was to push nature journaling to another level of extreme, but there was one thing I had never tried.
Right now, I'm gonna show you how to nature journal in the hot springs. Papa Yacht to Ecuador.
Surrounded by orchids, cloud forests, beautiful views, and sword-billed hummingbirds, these hot springs were the last stop on the Andes to Amazon nature journaling adventure. I've been testing waterproof nature journaling supplies for a while, so I was ready to go with this Rite in the Rain blank page sketchbook and this Prismacolor ebony pencil. Also, a broccoli rubber band is really useful. Obviously, watercolor does not work and my normal pens do not work on this paper, so I have to adapt my style a little bit. But I'm going to start with the similar nature journaling techniques as usual.
Oh, look at that bird.
Of course, just as I was starting the landscape, I saw a cool bird fly by, so I have to at least do a little sketch of that bird on my page. Almost immediately, the bird turned around, so I'm drawing it from behind as well. Normally, I would use watercolor to fill in this forested hillside, but I have to use the graphite and try to practice building up the values with that tool that I'm not as used to. If graphite is not your tool of choice, you might be a little bit frustrated when you have to work for it. But my opinion is that every single art supply or medium has a lesson to teach you that no other medium can teach you. So working with graphite or working with watercolor or working with charcoal, there's lessons that you can learn there that you won't learn anywhere else. You can see here that with this pencil, I'm also able to do fine lines and even writing. I've been testing it for a while and it definitely seems to be the best option for this type of waterproof journaling. It's very fault tolerant. You can get bold lines, you can write, you can draw, you can get some dark values and color things in, and those are all really important when you're nature journaling in the hot springs. At this point, I decided I want to try a different location, so I'm looking for a spot where I can observe this amazing Brugmansia sanguinea. Some people call this plant Datura, and it is in the same family as Datura, but technically this is in the genus Brugmansia. They're grown a lot in cultivation as an ornamental plant. They're originally from South America, and they have a very cool pendulous flower that is pollinated by bats, and it is also visited by the sword-billed hummingbird with the longest beak to body ratio of any bird in the world. It's an amazing hummingbird and an amazing flower. So I decided to draw this flower a little bit, and it's a very fun flower to draw. So I found a position where I could see it while resting peacefully in the hot springs. Don't forget that nature journaling is more than just drawing cool flowers. So here I'm writing some questions about the things I'm curious about. And one of the things I'm curious about is why the sword-billed hummingbirds, even with such a long beak that supposedly co-evolved with this flowers, why they so often are piercing holes in the side of the flower and basically robbing the nectar, circumventing pollination services and just robbing the nectar from the side of the flower. I also am making a little note about the fruit. So, making it a little bit more than just a pretty picture is part of what makes it nature journaling. At this point, the warm mineral waters are starting to have their effect, and I'm starting to relax. And just then, I saw some swallows flying by overhead. So, I'm going to try to get at least one sketch of a swallow and some notes about it. The whole time I was nature journaling, I had this hot spring pool all to myself, and guess what? There was another pool like this for each one of the cabins for people staying on the Andes to Amazon nature journaling adventure. I'm going to grab my Sharpie pen just to add a little bit of color since my watercolor doesn't work. Colored pencil can work on this paper, but I don't have any with me on this trip. And look at this, there's flowers just dangling right over the hot springs. How amazing is that? If you want a nature journal in a place like this, cloud forest, the Andes Mountains, and the Amazon rainforest, check out this link for more information about next year's trip.
All right, whenever you're nature journaling in hot springs or hot water, it's good not to spend too long because it starts to mess with your brain. But at least I got a little bit of this Brugmansia, and I also got a little bit of a landscape. It would have been real fun if I had more colored pencils and took a little bit longer time, but I'm at high altitude in a hot spring, so I'm starting to feel a little bit dizzy, so I'm gonna call it good for today, but I'm glad at least I got to try nature journaling in a hot spring.
Last year completely sold out, and this year there's only 5 spots left for July 2025.